everybody to the Civic Action Week panel titled How to Stay Civically Engaged as a Student and How That Can Shape Your Postgrad Life.
Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Destiny Mann. I use she, her pronouns. I am a junior at the University of Pittsburgh campus, and I am also a member of the Student Civic Engagement Council. So SCEC is a group of 8 students whose mission is to provide the University of Pittsburgh students with the opportunity to engage their talents and local communities and engage their talents with local communities and neighborhoods to support and promote civic engagement, community service, and social justice.
Hello, everyone. I probably should have introduced myself in the beginning, but my name is Aluchi. My pronouns are she, they, and I am also a member of the Student Civic Engagement Council. All right, so I'm gonna first start off by introducing our panelists. So as the screen comes up, if you guys could just introduce yourselves, your names, your pronouns, and what group you're representing. So first we have the National Society of Black Engineers, or NSBE. So if Isaiah and Anna could introduce yourselves.
Yeah, cool. Anna, you want to go first?
Sure. So my name is Anna. My pronouns are she, her. I'm currently a junior at the University of Pittsburgh, majoring in bioengineering.
And I am Isaiah. So I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in 2019 in Civil and Environmental Engineering, pronouns he, him, his, and I'm currently a second-year PhD student in Environmental Engineering. And I was a part of NSBE in undergrad.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today. Second group we have is Pitt Pantry.
Hi, my name is Manasi Thirumurthy. I'm a senior here at Pitt, and I'm the VP of Volunteer Management at the Pitt Pantry, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Hi, hi. My name's Jason. I use he, him pronouns. So I graduated in the spring of 2020. I was the former president of the Pitt Pantry, and currently I'm a first-year medical student.
Thank you guys for joining us today. And then our last group is Jumpstart.
Hi, my name is Aislinn McDonald. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a junior. I'm a psych major on the pre-med track, and I'm a team leader for Jumpstart.
Hi, my name is Suri Akineni. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm currently a junior, and I'm majoring in neuroscience and gender studies. I'm also on the pre-med track, and I'm also in Jumpstart, and I'm also a team leader.
Awesome. So thank you all for joining us today and for introducing yourselves. I hope we have a really good conversation today. And so I'm going to go ahead and send us off to the second portion of the panel, which is essentially the Q&A. And so me and Destiny are going to kind of alternate asking questions. We're going to have you guys essentially just talk about this, how to stay civically engaged, and we'll, I guess, go through my order, or Destiny, you can go through your order when it gets to your turn and kind of pick who gets to speak first. So is everyone cool with that? Awesome. All right. So Destiny, if you want to get started on the first question.
Sure. And just to specify, so the first about 45 minutes, we're going to be focused on asking the panelists questions. And then afterwards, we plan to have a 15-minute Q&A session for anyone to ask questions that they may have for the panelists. So once again, thank you guys for all coming. We really appreciate it. The first question that we had is, how did you become involved in your organization, volunteering, the work that you do, and how did you manage them during, like for those in undergraduate, how are you managing balancing schoolwork and such? And then for graduates, how did you manage that while you were in undergraduate?
So I can start us off. How did I become involved with NSBE? So I came in to undergrad in engineering, and we have this position called Torch Chair, which are our technical outreach and community help chair person. And the Torch Chair at the time, he was also from Pittsburgh. And he knew I was from Pittsburgh, and he reached out to me and was like, hey, like, I know you're from Pittsburgh. I want to do some volunteer work, or I do volunteer work. I'd love to pick your brain, have you a part. And so I kind of became like an apprentice to him. And then it was really from my sophomore year when my involvement in NSB got, or I got more involved in NSB, I should say. So I became the torch chair. And then I just kind of worked my way up to program chair and then president last year. And how did I manage the time? I just treated it like it was a part of my duties and my responsibilities as an undergraduate student. So the way I kind of looked at it was like, I have classwork to do, I have to study outside of class, and then I have to do NSB things. So if that's emailing companies, if that's working with going out into the community. I know we were real active at FAME, which is the Fund for the Advancement of Minorities in Education here in Pittsburgh and East Liberty. So that was like, I just put it into my schedule and I blocked off that time to make sure, I was giving back, because that's a part of who I am innately. I was given a lot growing up, so it was just a part of me to pay it forward,
Awesome. Anna, can you go next, just to kind of keep Nesby in the group?
Yeah, sure. So when I first got to Pitt, the main thing I was looking for was community, and the National Society of Black Engineers really offered that to me. And once I got there and learned more about what NSB really was, and like met Isaiah and like other upperclassmen that were already here, I kind of realized that their goals really align with my personal goals. So that's why I'm a junior and I'm a part of it. So currently I serve as the pre-college initiative chair, which I've served in for the past 2.5 years. That's where I really found like where I could really give back to the community in ways that I knew would be valuable in terms of like STEM education and other things like that. So that's what really got me into NSB and like why I'm still here. In terms of how I balance undergraduate work and community service, I think it's all about really being passionate about what you want to do and also not overloading yourself, because it's not going to help anybody if you are stressed, completely exhausted all the time, you can't do your work, and then you're basically not putting your full self into your community service. So really kind of like what Isaiah was saying, like, and treat it like it's part of your schedule, and only do what you know you can handle. So you can give your full self to your academics, because we're here to ultimately to get a degree, but also give your full self to what you're passionate about into the community so they can see everything that you have to offer.
Thank you. Do Jumpstart folks want to go next?
Hi, so how I found Jumpstart was actually through one of my really close friends. So he did it his freshman year and he would always talk about it. And I was like, oh, like I want to check it out, because what Jumpstart does, like we primarily work with kids in order to implement a childhood, like really childhood curriculum for them in like marginalized communities. So I was just really interested in that and I joined it. And actually that's also like a reason how like my roommate, like this is Aislinn, she's my roommate, that's how we're together. That's how we bonded. So I think it was just like about finding something that was passionate and that I was passionate about, because I knew I loved working with kids and I knew like I wanted to like have a bigger role in my community and help them like be as prepared as they could be for like their future. And in terms of how to balance academics and then also Jumpstart, I think it was just about just planning everything. I'm a big planner, so I would always write down important dates, like things I needed to get done for each week. And that helped me just like keep me on track and just make sure that I needed to get everything done. Because ultimately, like Anna said, like we're here to get a degree. So obviously schoolwork is more important, but also when you're committed to something, it's important to also give 100% of your effort to that. So you need to make sure you're just like taking the proper, like, I guess, like cautions to make sure like you're balancing both pretty well.
And how I got started, I was in the Child Development Association freshman year, and we needed to do volunteer work in order to stay in the club. So I didn't even know what Jumpstart was. I was just like volunteering for it, and then I did it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I found out that I had friends in the program, and I wanted to learn more about it. So I was like, okay, I'll join. So I did the summer program, which is like a little bit different, and you're with the kids like all day, every day. So I really got a lot out of the summer program, and that's what made me want to come back last school year and be a team leader, and then again this school year and be a team leader. And then in terms of balancing it, I feel like I do dedicate a lot of time to Jumpstart. Like it's either I'm doing schoolwork or I'm doing Jumpstart stuff. Like there's no in between. I don't know. I just feel like you have to kind of like section off your Jumpstart stuff or your, organization in the week, kind of like if it were a class, like, okay, on Tuesday and Thursday, like I'm going to dedicate this time to Jumpstart and kind of just schedule it in and make sure that you're treating it as the importance that it is. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you. So for our second question, how do you guys, and for the undergrads, let me say, how do you guys plan on using the experiences you're gaining now in your post-grad life, if you want to continue service? And then to the post-grad people, how are you guys using the service and kind of the experiences you gained as an undergrad in your post-grad life? So we can start with Isaiah again, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's cool. So I use the experiences I got through the different places I volunteered and did service for. Mainly, I guess, but the main way I use it now is I'm preparing to become an educator. So like I'm getting my PhD because I want to be a professor um, in civil and environmental engineering, but I'm real big on like STEM education, particularly to Black youth. But then I also take it to my research work, and I do research work in water equity and water access from a microbiological standpoint. So understanding all the science and all the technicalities behind where we get our water from, how it's treated and all that. And then I'm using all the community service experiences I've had to kind of mold for where I want to go, in that I want my research and everything that I do to be able to directly impact my community in a beneficial and a positive way. And so, yeah.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Yeah, like I definitely have to agree with that. So as an undergrad, of course, I'm looking to get my degree. I'm also pursuing a medical degree. Well, hopefully I'll be pursuing a medical degree in a couple of years. So once I reach that point, and even just as a medical student, like I'm passionate about, STEM education, like being visible and like being able to be used as a resource. So as an undergrad, not only while giving back to the community in the way that I'm able to currently, but I'm also like noticing like I'm also taking note like what I need and like what is important to me. So like when I get to that point where I'm a medical student, where I'm a doctor, I will know how I will be able to give back to the community, so that they will be able to reach my point where I am and even greater. So for me, like being visible is very, very important. Like, so for example, I work a lot with the youth in the community. So me being visible as like a Black female engineer to these children, that shows them, okay, you can also make it to where I am. You can make it to higher than where I am. That was very important to me when I was a child. So when I continue to move on to post-grad and like into my professional life, just being visible as a Black female physician or being visible as like a Black female medical student and being a resource to people where in undergrad or whether it's high school or anything like that, that's where I really see myself moving forward in post-grad. And I really think that doing community service now is very, very beneficial to that.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Jason.
Yeah, so I think in regards of when I was a undergrad, to like learn that food insecurity is such a present issue on campus, and it's very present but invisible issue because a lot of people take food for granted, and to learn that like in some surveys that it affects like almost a third of students is very eye-opening. And now as a medical student, our first unit when we got onto campus was learning about social determinants of health. And obviously food, nutrition, these basic resources are really impactful. throughout your life. Like in undergrad, if you think if you're not eating well, you're not going to be able to study or focus properly. You're not going to be able to succeed in that way if your basic like nutrition isn't being addressed. So I think like food is like a really important aspect of life, and to be able to get involved in learning about that through the food pantry is very impactful. And like it extends beyond just like your college campus. So if you're paying attention to the news, the UN food program won the Nobel Peace Prize recently. So food is a very important issue.
Thank you very much. Manasi.
So for me, like, so I'm a nursing major, so a lot of the things that I deal with, like in clinicals, is meeting a diverse group of like in the patient population. So I found that there was like a connection between my career as well as my volunteering at the pit pantry, because I'm interacting with the whole like group of people, which is very diverse from what I normally would. Similar to what Jason had said earlier, there's so many like health disparities that all come down to like being able to afford like healthy, nutritious food. There are like health diseases and conditions that can be prevented, and there's definitely like a huge gap based off of whether you have access to food and how healthy you are. So for me, like it was pretty eye-opening and almost like scary to me to realize that there were so many people on our college campus, 1 in 3 students, who have to choose between buying nutritious food or buying their books or like tuition related things. So yeah, that's all I got.
No, that's more than enough. Aislinn and Sri.
Yeah, so coming into college, I knew I wanted to be a pediatrician, so I was bio pre-med. And then doing Jumpstart, like you learn so much about child development and how they just like, we work with ages 3 to 5, and like the differences in ages 3, 4, and 5 was just really interesting to me, and how like even at age 1, 2, 3, like it's so important to be that these kids get the education that they need, because Jumpstart is all about closing the kindergarten readiness gap. So from if they're not ready for kindergarten, then that will carry on through their 4th grade reading level, and then high school graduation, and then jobs, college, internships. So I was really just like concerned with that and child development. So that's kind of what I want to go into now. So I changed my major to psych. And yeah, I just want to be in child development, and Jumpstart helped me realize that.
Kind of going off of that, one of the reasons I joined Jumpstart was to kind of like help bridge the educational disparities that are like so prevalent in America today. Because I feel like growing up, like I was privileged enough to like not face any of those, but I failed to recognize that like there's so many schools across the nation that don't have the proper resources to supply their students. Like the students don't have like enough like resources to do well. And for me, like everyone having the ability to have like equal resources and like just like an education was just really important, because like the youth are like the future of like our generation. So it's so important that they're like they receive the right education that they deserve. So that's like a main reason why I joined Jumpstart. And I know like even like I hope to one day like become a doctor. And I know that like a lot of people like it might not be related to pre-med stuff, but it's educational disparity is just still so important today. And I hope to in the future just like advocate more for it and continue like maybe not directly work with Jumpstart, but like advocate for causes supporting it, because the fact that there's so many people who don't have access to what they need is just really sad. And it's really important that we work towards every child getting like equal resources no matter where they are, and because like they all deserve to succeed. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Thank you
you.
guys. Thank you guys for that. So our next question actually relates to the 6 pathways at the university. We have 6 pathways for civic engagement at the University of Pittsburgh. And those 6 pathways are community engaged learning and research, community organizing and activism, direct service, philanthropy, policy and governance, and then the last one is social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility. So my question for all of you is, through your volunteering, which pathway do you use most, and what impact does that pathway have on your organization or the people that you help? So we can actually switch it up, and let's start with Jason.
Yeah, so I think the Pit Pantry fits into quite a few of the 6 pathways. The first one that comes to mind, probably the most relevant, is direct service, because we're directly serving the Pit community, not just students, but also staff and faculty that demonstrate a need for this. And so we're able to provide them resources, and not just food. We also provide non-food items. So we have like household goods like paper towels, dish soap, as well as school supplies, and also like soaps and toothbrushes that they can pick up. So definitely, I'd say direct service community, especially particularly to the college community, is the one that we fit in the most. But in terms of other pathways, there's definitely other ones that the Pit Pantry has been involved with, especially as of late. So as of last year, there was a committee created at the university, a basic needs committee that brought together not just students, but also faculty and staff that are all working together to address basic needs issues on campus. And this coalition, which was formed last year, is really trying to like gather information to really see how big the needs are on the campus. So for example, they're trying to put out a basic needs survey onto campus. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but onto campus in the Pitt community specifically and the Pittsburgh region to really see like how many students are affected by food insecurity or other issues, because it's a question that should be posed and should be answered, but it's something that the university has been reluctant to address or to like find out. So we're excited to see where that leads us.
Manasi, you can go next. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Destiny.
No, I was just about to say that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so similar to what Jason had said earlier, the Pit Pantry really most aligns with direct service because it is like serving the community, like our whole campus, students, faculty, and Pit staff. Anyone with the Pit ID is welcome to use the pantry as a resource. I would also say that the pantry is aligned a little bit with community engaged learning and research, just because we're, taking more action on like the social issue and also educating people about how prevalent food insecurity is on this campus, while being able to provide resources for anyone who may need them on campus as well.
Jason, if you would like to go next.
Okay, yeah, so we were just talking about it. We also think that Jumpstart definitely fits into a few different ones. Obviously, like the main one would be direct service because we're directly working with the children. But then also the community engaged learning and research, because we're all about giving the kids the resources in academia that they need to succeed. And I think just connecting with different people in the communities is a really important part of Jumpstart as well. Just like realizing that, the communities that we serve in are more than just us. It's more than just the kids. Like it's these big communities with families and, businesses, and Jumpstart focuses on like meeting people from the community and going and exploring the community too. So I think that's a big part as well.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I don't really have much because I think Aislinn covered everything. But yeah, I would definitely agree that like a lot of what Jumpstart aligns with is direct service, just because we are working with like a specific population, which is like kids from marginalized communities, because we know that they might not have access to like resources that they need. So that's like a big thing. And then, yeah, I think we're also pretty like, I think we also align with the community organizing and activism civic pathway, just because a big part of what Jumpstart Nationals does is just like, just they send like newsletters, they educate people on educational disparities, and they constantly try to bring up ways to actively engage our community and just educate people about it, because a lot of people don't know about the disparities that exist. So I think that's also a big thing.
Isaiah?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to defer to Anna to talk about where she thinks NSBE fits in with the 6 pathways, because she's active in her position as PCI chair. So I'll defer to her for right now to talk about NSBE, and I can come back and talk a little bit about myself and where NSBE has been, if that's cool.
Yeah, that sounds good. Currently, I believe NSBE falls into numerous of the pathways. So I think, of course, community engaged learning is very prevalent, just because we do a lot of STEM education for the youth in all aspects of our organization, but we also do a lot of direct service. So in the past, we've served at homeless shelters, we've served at soup kitchens, we've served at picking up trash in the community, because ultimately this is where we live, and this is where the future of Pittsburgh is and is thriving. So we want to better that in any way possible. I believe in the past, we've also done philanthropy, because we've had events in the past that really contribute to the community. I know when the Tree of Life Synagogue shooting happens, we held a fundraiser to help the victims of that. We also held a fundraiser for helping the family of Antoine Rose when he was tragically killed. So we often loop in the social issues of the community with our mission, so that we as a society are able to not only give back in the typical engineering way, but also show that we really do care about people and their lives and how we can help better that. I would also say we could also fit into the community organizing and activism part, because especially recently we've had a lot of workshops on educating on the disparities within the community, based on being a diverse person, or a diverse group in a largely Caucasian world, in workforce, especially the disciplines of engineering that we're in. We did a lot of educating on that. We've also had a lot of projects on educating people about voting, different social issues, so that we can really stay impactful in everything that we do. So NSBE really is good at branching out and using all different facets to really impact the community holistically, I would say.
Yeah, and I think to follow up on that, I think as we as NSBE members grow and we transition out of undergrad and go into our post-grad lives, our impacts, I think, become a little more focused. So maybe we don't get the chance to branch out as much, but so for myself, right, I think I fall into the community engaged learning and research because I'm a researcher, but also let me pull up the chat real quick. There was one specific one. Oh, policy and governance, right? Where as an undergrad, specifically with NSBE, I think we just start to touch the surface of that a little bit, but it's not until you hit that post-grad where you can start to get involved with those conversations of okay, where does a policy around in my specific field, how do I become an influencer and make changes when it comes to that. For those of us who go on and go into industry, I think we definitely reach out and branch out into that social and corporate responsibility, because I know our alumni base is just crazy talented, but also crazy expansive in that anything you could imagine, somebody in NSBE probably is somewhere doing it in some way, shape, or form. So yeah.
Thank you all for their answers.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and open the floor up to any Q&A questions. So I'm just going to ask one more question to the panelists, but as I'm asking this question and they're answering, you guys, the audience, can feel free to type up any questions you have in the little chat box, and then we'll read them out as we receive them. So the next question I have is essentially, have you been able to make any connections or networks through the service work that you do? And where have those connections and networks kind of taken you in life so far? We can start off with, let's do Aislinn and.
Okay, it was about connections, right?
Through service, yes.
So I think the biggest connection that Jumpstart is with the kids. I'm not sure if that kind of answers this, but like the connections and the bonds that you make with the kids is like the most important thing. And that's like what keeps you coming back. But also the connections that you make with the other core members and the other team leaders, like I feel like all of them are like my best friends. And then also the site managers too. We have like the most amazing site managers that I could ever ask for. They're awesome. Yeah, and I just feel like I will be like taking all of these like connections and relationships that I made with me like throughout my whole life and through post grad, and I don't know, that sounds so sappy, but I just feel like I'll always remember them. And I just love everybody in Jumpstart so much. It's like we call ourselves kind of like a Jumpstart family. It's not just a job. It's not just a club. Like we're a family and we're all committed to the same thing. We all share the same passions. And I think that that's like the most important part of, building relationships and connections and keeping them for a long time.
Yeah, and going off of that, I basically have the same thing. One of the biggest things is obviously the connections with the kids. Last year was my first year doing Jumpstart, and going in, I never really realized the impact the kids would have on me. I always have this theory. It's like people always think that kids learn from adults, but I actually think it's the opposite. Like you learn from the kids. And honestly, they taught me so much, and it was so sad not being able to say goodbye because our time like ended early last year due to like the pandemic. But the connections that I made with them, the feeling of like pride I had whenever they accomplished like something, that could never that's immeasurable. Like I will remember that for the rest of my life, and I will truly cherish that. And that being said, also the connections that I've made with my team last year and just like my core members in this year, and also like just being able to collaborate with other team leaders, it's just like an invaluable experience because we all are so supportive of each other. And again, like Aislinn said, we're all like kind of like a big family. And I know that I never need to hesitate when asking questions or just like feeling like stupid about asking something because they're all so nice and they're genuinely willing to help out. And like as cheesy as it sounds, like we're all in this together. And like Aislinn said, we are all committed to the same cause and we want to give like 110% effort to what we're committed for. So I think like the connections that we made with the kids, the other core members, and then other team leaders are just like invaluable. And lastly, I think the connections that we made with our site managers, I think again, like I will truly carry that with for the rest of my life because they have taught me what leadership means. They're so nice, they're so considerate, they genuinely care about like what's going on in our lives, and it's so nice because as a student it can be really overwhelming, so it's really nice to just have someone like that to look up to. So in terms of connections, I think all these things are just like interconnected, and they really did make an impact on me like now, and I know like even in the future, like after like I'm not involved in Jumpstart anymore, like I will truly just remember these for the rest of my life. Thank you.
No, awesome. Thank you guys so much. I did Jumpstart as well my sophomore year, and my team leaders were Sierra and Helena. I don't know if there's Sierra is, I know that for sure.
Yes,
I don't know about Helena though. Yeah, and it was like the best time. So I can relate to a lot of the experiences that you guys had. Yeah. Can we have Anna go next?
Yeah, sure. So I made numerous connections as serving as the pre-college initiative chair for NSBE. One of which, so last year we were able to start getting involved in an educational research study actually conducted by a mechanical engineering professor at Pitt. So I don't know if you guys know, but like there's an elementary school on Upper Campus called the Falk School. And we were able to work with them to see like how introducing engineering principles and STEM at an early age of like 5th grade will influence their decisions in terms of like undergraduate degree, career pursuit that they choose. how that will impact what they choose later on in life. So being experienced with something like that and being connected with Dr. Tevis Jacobs that we were able to work with before really showed me like how education research is very important, like, and how we can expand that type of research throughout multiple different schools. So he's currently working on, I guess, broadening this project to see what large of an impact little engineering projects, like, you may think will not make that big of a difference, but how that will impact someone's life. So we're currently working on spreading that to different schools, and I feel like that's a very important connection for me to have made. Just because, like, as I continue to grow and develop and become a professional, that's definitely something I want to continue to be a part of. In addition to that, we also work with an organization in East Liberty called the Fund for the Advancement of Minority Education, where I've had the privilege to serve as a robotics team coach to elementary schoolers for the past 2 years. And it's just a great experience overall. But being a part of something like that and making those connections there has really, it gives me a facet to continue to serve as I graduate. So currently we're actually looking for, like, bringing in professionals, bringing in researchers, educators who are working in the engineering field to talk to these kids. So by me making that connection now, when I become a professional, I'll be able to serve through that facet to continue to give back. So making these connections now, it really will influence what you do post-grad, because you already know what you like to do and you already know where the needs are. So as you get to that point where you can continue to give back, you're able to do so.
Anna, you're so cool. That's like the coolest thing ever. Like, I hope you succeed. Isaiah, can you go next?
Yeah, definitely. So in undergrad, I also worked at FAME. I was a 1080 coach, which is like race cars. And that connection with the kids is something that, how I echo what Anna said, and I echo what the Jumpstart team said as well. It's just like, as you continue to grow and as you continue to watch these kids grow up and get into their high school programs and then their eventually collegiate programs, it's always nice to hear back from them. Like, I think a couple weeks back, actually, one of the students I thought texted me and was like, "Hey, how are you?" I was like, wow, like, this is crazy. So, like, connections like that are always nice. And it's nice to know that you were able to make an impact on somebody's life and you can charge them to go forward and do the same for somebody else. But throughout my undergrad, I was a little bit of an oddball out in terms of engineering. I didn't want to stay solely in engineering. I didn't want my impact to just be I know how to design a water treatment plant. Like, I wanted to be more than that. So I actually participated in a fellowship program called the Brown Leadership Fellowship through the School of Social Work. And that placed me in the community of Manchester the summer after my sophomore year. And from that, I made lifelong connections with the people in Manchester, which is down on, or I guess up in the north side. It's a little hidden, predominantly Black community, and where I worked at their nonprofit and just helping them with, basic things. So we did surveying for voter turnout and encouraging people to vote. I actually did get to employ some of my engineering skills with helping them with stormwater runoff, helping them with, rain gardens, rain barrels, things of that nature. So doing things like that and letting the skills I was learning at Pitt influence how I impacted people was something truly amazing and something truly unforgettable. And then even going outside those bounds, the community I serve in now, West Oakland, where I serve primarily at Friendship Church in the corner, which is a little community center up on Aliquippa and Robinson. That got me connected into the art scene in Pittsburgh. So now it's like I was able to really kind of dip my toes in a bunch of different areas and make all these connections. And I love being able to bring them all together in some cool and interesting way in order to serve the greater good. So yeah, I think that answered the question. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you. Can we have Jason speak next?
I think the most impactful connections that I made throughout the pantry was with my fellow volunteers. I think like every volunteer at the pantry, I think honestly you can also vibe for it, are like generally good people, generally really kind people. And like everybody vibes really well. And these are like friendships that like can last you beyond college. Like Sierra, our supervisor, was able to like organize like a post-grad virtual game night once, and it was cool to see like people that like graduated 2-3 years above me like return to like join that. So it's very unique in that like the pantry, like the volunteers are very diverse. We're like from different majors, different schools, different career paths. So like I was pre-med, Monacy's in nursing, but like we have people in social work. We had people from the engineering school, so like all walks of life could come and like serve in the pantry. So it was really cool to have the opportunity to like meet people, have like all these different perspectives that really helped enrich us to like better serve the community. And even though I didn't go down the career path, that career path, Sierra supervisor is like a really great resource, a mentor into like community engagement, social justice. And we've had like graduate students serve with the pantry, a couple AmeriCorps Vista members, and people that, some master students. So like people that want to go down that path, they are like great mentors and resources to follow up with.
Thank you so much, Manasi.
So this is going similar to what Jason had said. Like everyone at the pantry is so nice, so sweet. Like I could just talk to anyone without any like hesitation or awkwardness, and everyone is just great. Not just the volunteers, but also like on the e-board, I've made some connections and friendships with everyone on there. We have a great time, not only serving the community, but also just, vibing with each other and having a great time while we're doing it. Something that I wanted to bring up was that last year I attended the ACC Leadership Symposium in North Carolina, where the theme was food insecurity. So it was really, really cool to like make connections with these people from various schools where they were also combating the same issue of food insecurity. So I was very, very inspired by all these schools that were doing comparatively a better job than we were at combating food insecurity on a college campus. So we were able to get all those ideas and do brainstorming activities to learn from each other. And, we're still connected like on LinkedIn. Like I could just, ask someone how they're doing at their school to combat a certain issue and get inspired from them, and also give them help if they need help, building up a food pantry on their campus as well. So that was super helpful for me. I'm grateful for that opportunity. And yeah.
That is so cool. I'm from North Carolina, actually. What part of North Carolina, or what college, I should ask?
It was NC State that we went to.
NC State.
Yeah.
Awesome. I know they're really big with like farming, so that makes sense.
They have a really good like food insecurity infrastructure and like program, because they have like the whole college like support also, which we don't really have here, but
we can get eventually, right?
Yeah. We've been trying.
Right, yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Am I missing anyone? Oh, I'm so sorry. I lost track. Is that everybody? Yeah. All right, no one's speaking, so we can go to the next question.
Okay, I just want to remind for those who are watching, you can always, if you have any questions for the panelists, feel free to just drop them in the Q&A portion. But for our next question, I know this is on a lot of our minds because of the current climate. So I guess we wanted to ask, how have you and your organization adapted to the coronavirus and continue to stay civically engaged? So if Aislinn, you guys wanted to go first?
Yeah, I feel like it's super relevant because, normally we go into the classrooms and we teach the kids, and like, that's the best part. And like all the work that you do throughout the week is just super worth it once you like just spend like that like hour and a half to 2 hours like in the classroom. So there's a lot of adjustments that we're making. And it's kind of sad. It's not as fun for us, but we're hoping that it'll be just as fun for the kids. So basically what we're doing is if the kids are in person in their classrooms, then we're gonna do like live Zooms with the kids. and like maybe still be able to go into the classroom like one at a time, but not as a team. But Pittsburgh public schools, none of them are in person right now. Like they're all online right now. So what we're doing is doing like Jumpstart TV is what we're calling it. So we're doing like 20-minute videos. We're calling them episodes of Jumpstart TV, and kind of just doing like session into video. And if you could think of it kind of like the cartoons that you watched when you were little, like Dora, where we're like asking questions and then like waiting a second, but we're just a video. And then we're doing like Jumpstart in a box too. So we're sending the kids like all the resources that they would need to do all the activities. Like we're sending them the books that we would read to them, sending them like the links and everything, and just extra activities. And then also we're sending them Jumpstart to go packets. So normally when we go into the classroom, we would just read the book and, you know, take it back with us. But now, because of this, we've been given the opportunity to actually send the kids the books and other activities like that they can just keep. So they get to keep the books. So yeah, it's a little bit different. We're gonna have to, you know, work on editing and filming and all that kind of fun stuff. But we think that we could still make it work and make it a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, adding on to that, I don't really have much to add because I think like Aislinn covered everything. But another thing in addition to the session stuff that we're doing is like we're still kind of currently under training. So I know usually our trainings are supposed to be like in person, but this year like obviously we can't do that. So everything's over Zoom. But we also have these like individual like prep thing, we call it individual prep, but we have these assignments and they're usually about like kind of just educating yourself and then just discussing with your teammates. So like one assignment was to like just watch a documentary about the educational disparities that are prevalent and then just like discuss like how it correlates with Jumpstart, like what we can do. And another thing that we're doing is we're going to be like exploring our neighborhoods, like where our schools are located, to just like know more about the community and know more about like who we're serving. So just like other things like that in order to make sure that we're staying on track and we're still meeting the goal of what Jumpstart like asks us to do, even though it's a majority of it is virtual, we're kind of just adapting and just making sure that we're staying on top of things and just still constantly educating ourselves, because with the internet, it's like everything's like available to us. It's just a matter of doing it. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. Anna?
Yeah. So I think that NSBE has adapted pretty well in terms of upkeeping our community engagement, even in a time of COVID. So at first, I like to kind of like spin off of like what Aislinn was saying with like the kits and the packages we send to students so they can continue to remain engaged. So through my work with FAME, we're actually sending the kids kits of different parts of an experiment that we will walk through with them to do every 2 weeks. So this past week, we were able to do like a statistics week where we have them like running around up and down stairs, kind of like measuring their heart rate to see like, okay, why did this happen? What trends do you see? Next week, we're doing something with civil engineering where we're gonna mail them things about like popsicle sticks, glue, marshmallows, things like that to build bridges that we will participate with them over Zoom. So we're still having that communication with them, but they're also so able to maintain that hands-on aspect of it through those kits. Adding to that, specifically NSBE, like we like to be involved with schools. So we actually have a partnership with SciTech, which is the school right in front of Benedum Hall. And we're able to go into their classrooms every 2 weeks on Friday and prepare a workshop to make sure that their science education they're receiving, we're giving them like a real world application of that so that we're able to, you know, continue to remain somewhat impactful and like enhance their education in a way that we can still do so through Zoom or through Teams. Also, we just did an event last week with the Society of Women Engineers in collaboration with other elementary schools and middle schools in the area where we were able to do science demos via Zoom so that they're still able to see what science is, we're able to explain it to them, and they can see like what they're interested in to see like if this is something they'd like to pursue. So that's like all the STEM-based things that we've been doing in NSBE. In addition to that, one of our members, Nadine, she started a pen pal program with a senior living center. So we have volunteers sign up if they like to be in constant communication with a senior citizen in a senior living center, because we know that the restrictions have really, dampered who can really see them and like limited their interaction with people. So we were able to partner with a community center, partnered with volunteers of NSBE and those senior citizens to get them really communicating and interacting, just to give back to the community in a holistic way. So I think NSBE as a chapter has been able to really remain impactful through COVID.
Thank you. Isaiah, do you have anything to add?
Nah, I think, NSBE is they're doing a great job. I've been keeping up with them as much as I can with the research and whatnot, but still following the charge I learned from my time in undergrad to just, like I said, I do work in West Oakland, West food distributions and stuff like that. So I'm finding my own ways to do food distributions and stuff with the arts, trying to provide spaces for people who feel like, because of COVID, we were stuck in the house most of the time, just giving people space to find other ways to express themselves and do it in a healthy way, do it in a space where it's safe, you feel like you can be open, you can take the mask off, as we like to say in the arts community and things of that nature. So
also, quick plug. This Monday, NSBE is actually having a Service and Impact GBM. What a coincidence, right? So if that's something you guys would be interested in, not only the panelists, but the participants on the Zoom, please look up Pitt NSBE on Instagram. We're very active on our Instagram, and find the information for you so you can join that. It's going to be a great time, very informative, but also fun. So show out for sure.
We love subtle plugs. Someone actually sent in the chat, can you send a link? So if you have that link, send it if you can. So yeah, but moving forward, Jason?
I think I'll defer to Monacy for this question because I graduated in spring of 2020. So as you guys all know, we got sent home for spring break and then we're told to stay home. And unfortunately, like a lot of like the organizations had to like shut down like all of their activities due to safety. I know that at the beginning, Sierra, other graduate student, worked really hard to still provide remote pickup of food. And when that wasn't safe to do, to provide meal vouchers, so like meal swipe vouchers. But I'm sure Monty can comment on what they're doing this semester.
So normally, like pre-COVID, we would have people come into the pantry and we would show them around and like let them know like how much of each item they could take, and that's like what our volunteers would do as pantry guides. Obviously now due to Corona, we can't do that anymore. So what we've been doing is so we refer to the people who come to the pantry as shoppers, just to reduce the stigma around food insecurity and treat them as if this is a grocery store. So they like order ahead and they like let us know like what they want, and then we package them in like a bag and just leave it outside the pantry and give them like an hour or two like window of time for them to pick it up. Right now we don't have any volunteers on site. We just have a couple of staff members that have that are just like there whenever the shoppers request a meal package. As for me, I'm the VP of Volunteer Management. So right now we're trying to still keep the volunteers engaged, even though we're not on-site volunteering. So we're doing a lot of virtual bonding events just to keep everyone still connected with the pantry and letting them know. We're thinking of a potential composting opportunity in the future, which would be outdoors. Obviously, everyone have their masks on to still keep the volunteers engaged with the pantry. So for this semester, that's all we have. Potentially next semester, we might be open to more opportunities, assuming that the pandemic gets better, and hopefully we'll be out of this.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we're at the end of our panel. So I just want to give a big thank you to all our panelists today for coming and joining us and for speaking on how to stay civically engaged post-grad and how you're staying civically engaged as an undergrad. Really appreciate you guys coming and joining us today. And I also want to thank everyone that has attended any Civic Action Week events. We had a whole bunch of events throughout this week in different sectors of the civic engagement pathway. So I really appreciate you guys for joining on those. And if anybody else has any other plugs or like anything they want to shout out, feel free to do that now. If not, I'm going to close it off and say goodbye. And yeah, that's it.